Well, welcome everybody to our third day of the virtual holiday gallery tours. And today we're very excited to present Michael Maines, who is the director of Blue Spiral One Gallery. And we're also going to meet virtually Alex Bernstein, and we're going to see some glass and also ceramics. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how this all came about and what Sandhill Artists Collective is all about. So I retired from driving about a year ago and decided I wanted to meet more people in my neighborhood, particularly arts people. And so I pulled together a group which turned out to be about 35 people. And we got together a couple of times for sharing our art and talking about marketing of art and also talking about buying and collecting. Then COVID came along, and in that short time period, it became clear that the people who lived out here in Biltmore Lake really wanted to have a open studio event like many neighborhoods such as Beaver Dam and Weaverville. So clearly we couldn't do it now, but my cohort here and my virtual partner in crime, Bob Ware, has helped us to do all this virtually. Bob and I have basically done this by ourselves with our committees, and now we want to expand further in 2021, so we need some money to do that. So I got together with friends, galleries, and whatever, and what you're going to see now is our holiday tours, where you'll have a chance to see, talk, share with each other a little bit. And then at the end, this is not per se about buying, but if you'd like to, we're going to provide you some web links and you can go at it with your credit card. So that's it. Michael has been a good friend. He lives around the corner. And Blue Spiral has been very important to all of us in Asheville. And so we're going to start with Michael and some history. So Michael, turning it over to you.
Thanks, Louise. Thank you, Bob. Again, I'm Michael Maines, and we are here inside of Blue Spiral. Thank you for having me this evening, and thanks for being with us. We're excited to do this for y'all. Excited to be a part of the Sandhill Artists Collective because, as Louise said, I live there. I live right off of Sandhill in Inca Village. That part of our community is really important to me, and I'm excited to share this part of the community that I live in, Blue Spiral, downtown Asheville, with you today. What I'd like to do is to go ahead and start off with a short little video that we made that's kind of a promotional video that tells a little bit about the history of the gallery and our programming, our offerings, as well as a focus on our glass artists here at the gallery. And then from there, I'll take you to Alex Bernstein's basement, one of our glass artists, and he'll give you about a 10-minute conversation peek into his life growing up with two glass artists, his parents, and what his work looks like today, now 40 years later. And then after that, I would like to take a virtual tour with you through our current exhibition, Mark Making, upstairs to our special pop-up exhibition, Form to Table, which was curated by my wife, Hannah, and it is a functional ceramic show, predominantly functional. And it's a lot of great pieces that are for your home at all different price levels. And I think you'll really enjoy that. So without further ado, what I will do is screen share right now, and I will play our promotional video of the gallery. Thank you.
Owner John Cram opened Blue Spiral 1 on New Year's Eve of 1990 with a vision of creating a home for the many artists who had settled in the region in the mid to late 20th century. Additionally, he needed a suitable space to exhibit the recently acquired estate of Southern modernist Will Henry Stevens. At the time Cram opened Blue Spiral 1, Asheville was a shell of itself. Having suffered through the post-industry recession, downtown buildings were boarded up and artists were moving to the area because the rent was cheap and the scenery inspiring. Cram recognized a need, took a chance, and made an investment that altered the trajectory of visual culture in Asheville. What was once a defunct radio supply shop flanked by an adult theater and a plumbing supply store is now one of the largest and busiest galleries in the South. 3 decades later, Blue Spiral 1 is the heart of a booming art scene in downtown Asheville. Blue Spiral 1 exhibits work by artists and makers in a light-filled 15,000 square foot gallery spanning 3 floors. This spacious setting allows the gallery to offer considerable diversity, affording accessibility to various tastes and aesthetics. The gallery provides full art consulting and installation services for commercial and residential spaces. Our professional staff will assist individuals and businesses with everything from the acquisition of single works of art to the development of larger private and corporate collections. Blue Spiral 1 maintains an extensive exhibition schedule, presenting over 25 shows each year. Thematic group exhibitions and individual artist showcases rotate in the main and lower level galleries every other month, while the gallery's upper level features a wide array of works by over 100 represented artists. The gallery also participates in various art fairs and events annually. Throughout the gallery's 30 years of business, we have worked with over 1,000 artists who prominently represent the fields of studio craft and fine art, showcasing contemporary works in wood, ceramic, fiber, metal, painting, and glass. Each artist embodies the heart of the gallery, craftsmanship. Over the years, Blue Spiral 1 has been and continues forefront of showcasing contemporary art in each of these mediums, especially glass. Having worked with hundreds of glass artists such as Dale Chihuly, Mark Pizer, Rick Beck, Shane Farrow, Robert Steffen, the gallery remains committed to honoring the legacy of studio glass and fostering its future by representing many young, innovative glass artists such as Alex Bernstein, Dean Allison, Rory Pemberton, and Jen Blazina, to name a few. To learn more about the gallery, our current exhibitions, and represented artists, please visit our website at bluespiral1.com.
I hope you all enjoyed that little promotional video of the gallery and to learn a little bit more. And when we do the Q&A section of this evening, if you have any questions about the history or more about the gallery, I'd be happy to answer those at this time or at that time. Now what I'd like to do is to introduce you to one of our glass artists that was mentioned in the video, Alex Bernstein, who's a local glass artist here, and we've represented him for about 20 years, almost 15, 20 years now. And we're going to take a look at his work and how he got started. And I'll go ahead and share that with you now.
Hi guys, it's nice to be here. My name's Alex Bernstein. I'm coming from Asheville, North Carolina, or more specifically, I'm actually in the basement because my son Max is upstairs doing his virtual school. He's in 3rd grade, and thus is life in the time of COVID, where I'm hiding in the basement to do my talk while he's upstairs learning. I'm going to share my screen and show you just a few images of kind of my upbringing and a few pictures of North Carolina and a few images of my artwork. So let me share the screen here. Okay, so this is me about 40 years ago, as obviously as a child in my parents' studio. My father, William Bernstein, and my mother, Catherine Bernstein are both glass artists. And again, this is their studio. If you look closely, I'm actually melting glass with a little torch. There's two little pieces of glass and a torch. I probably wouldn't let Max play with a 2,000 degree torch, but I don't believe that I ever got burned. So I guess all's well that ends well. But this is the life of a child that grows up basically as part of the studio glass movement. So again, this is me in my parents' studio about 40 years ago. This is Penland School of Crafts. My parents moved to Penland, or the Spruce Pine, North Carolina, Penland area in, I think, 1968. They had just finished college at the Philadelphia School of the Arts and were able to get residencies at Penland. So they moved down here again in the 60s. This is my parents at Penland. Definitely very artsy and young. This is both my parents, again, similar to most people in the studio glass movement, the early part, there wasn't really such thing as glass studios in schools. And so this is my father at the Philadelphia College of the Arts doing ceramics. So very similar to a lot of people, you start in ceramics and then you discover glass. My father, and I believe Dan Daly, built one of the first glass furnaces in his college, and then later moved down to Penland to be a glass resident. This is Asheville, North Carolina, which, as you can see from the image, is quite a beautiful spot. And because of the Penland School of Crafts and proximity, it's about an hour away, Asheville is filled with lots of artists and creative people. And I think, like my parents, they moved here and then stayed. I don't think they had any intention in staying here, but once you move here and you fall in love with the area. So Asheville is the kind of place, if you go to any restaurant and I would, tell people that I'm an artist, they go, oh yeah, well, so is this guy, so is that guy. So it's really a city that is filled with lots of artists. And I think one part is the beauty, and the other part is having schools like Penland School of Crafts so close by. I started my work being inspired by natural phenomenon. This is obviously a plant growing out of a seed. So one of my first series was inspired by that phenomenon. This is a piece that I roughly call Seed Pod. And so abstract sculpture. So I don't want to make something representational. I don't want it to look exactly like the image you saw before, but inspired by. I actually developed a method of fusing steel to glass. It's now called Bernsteining. So I was able to use that technique of fusing the steel to the glass to give you that kind of opaque seed look. It also looks like a plant growing out of a stone. So I like that it can look like many different things. I think that's the beauty of abstract artwork, is you can bring your own memories, your own ideas, and see different things out of my artwork. So I really like that. Here's another version. And one more. This is actually in the Imagine Museum in St. Pete, Florida. So these are the Blue Ridge Mountains. Asheville's located in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Obviously, there's great inspiration. I'm a cyclist and bike rider, so I spend a lot of time riding my bicycle through these mountains, and often feel inspired by the beauty and the history. These are some very old mountains, and they honestly feel kind of powerful. And obviously beautiful. So this is a piece inspired by that. This is called Blue Ridge. So using multiple sculptures and lining them all together to make basically a landscape. To me, each individual sculpture in this image is its own sculpture. I try to make it as nice as I can as just a standalone sculpture, and then I kind of build these landscapes together. Again, similar to the idea or the concept of that, people bring their own ideas. To me, this also could look like a cityscape, any kind of landscape. So I really love that it could be many different things, but to me, it's inspired by the mountains. This is just an image to show you the scale. This is a piece called the Gold Group. So from that same series, but just using different colors and different forms. This is the largest one I've done to date. This is all optical lead crystal, and I think there's 23 elements. Again, they can be moved around and changed. This is my studio. My studio is located right on the French Broad River. The French Broad River is one of the oldest rivers in the world, and I feel lots of inspiration being able to look out my window. You can't see from this picture, but you can actually see the river from my studio, and it's really just a nice spot to find inspiration. This is a picture of the river. And this is a piece inspired by it. And again, not directly related. I didn't look at this, view of the French Broad River and go and make this sculpture, but loosely inspired by it. Quick video. So this is just the kind of sparkle, the sun hits the water. I thought this piece really almost looked like kind of waves flowing and the sparkles of the water as the sun kind of glows off the little ripples and waves. This is actually a new sculpture that I just finished recently. This is an emerald. This is actually found in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, where I was born and raised. So this idea of geodes or natural stones or gemstones that are found, I've inspired by this idea of crystals. So this is a kind of landscape piece, almost like a lake and water, but inspired by these natural gemstones, or on this one specifically, the color. This is a pond that's close to my parents' house. This is my dog River swimming in the pond. So this idea of lakes and bodies of water, I find great inspiration for my work. Here's one inspired by the lake, and again, roughly inspired, but maybe stones or rocks around some lake, and maybe it's a macro view or a micro view, so you're looking far away or you're looking really close. This is called Lake Lure. Fun fact is the movie Dirty Dancing was actually filmed here, and this is not far from Asheville. I think maybe a 30-minute drive. And again, inspired by the natural beauty of the area. So this is a piece inspired. This one you can almost see kind of water bubbling up in the middle, and then stones or trees from the outside. This piece is probably, I think it was about 28 inches wide, about 14 inches tall. Here's another one from that series. Speaking of a time of COVID earlier, this is time of COVID. This is an image from my studio of a new group that I was working on. And I now work with a photographer where I can just send cell phone images of my work, and he turns them into professional images. So no contact. Everybody has to evolve in the time of COVID. So this is one kind of breakthrough that I was able to make. When the sun comes through my sculpture, I go, wow, that looks amazing. I wish I could make that look like a professional image and you wouldn't see my dirty windows in the background. So I call my photographer and I send him a picture and I say, get rid of the dirty windows, and he turns it into this. My photographer is Dan Fox, by the way. He's in Seattle, so it's really kind of interesting. This is some more work that I made recently in the time of COVID. It's kind of a crystal piece. And you can see that still that inspiration of geodes and natural stones and gemstones. This is a pale gold. This is a neodymium. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me talk today, and I really appreciate it, and I hope everybody stays safe. And I'm trying to end this, stop share. So again, thank you so much for taking the time, and everybody please be safe.
All right, thanks, Alex. That was great. So what I'd like to do now is we're about halfway through our tour of Blue Spiral, and I'd like to go ahead and start a virtual tour for y'all of our main gallery exhibition, which is entitled Mark Making. All right, so now we are here in the main gallery in an exhibition named Mark Making. This exhibition has 7 artists in it, all regularly represented artists from the gallery. As we pan through this part of the gallery space, you will see all 7 artists. Jeremy Russell is a local abstract painter here in Asheville. Tom Jasic is located in Minnesota. John also for me here at the gallery. Michael Poness is a ceramicist located in the DC area. He does these amazing lidded pots that all have a architectural feel to them. Michael Poness is a retired architect, thus the architectural feel. This is abstract painter Katie Walker. She's from Greenville, South Carolina. To the left of her, we have George Peterson, who's also a local wood artist and regularly represented here at the gallery. And then lastly, the last artist featured in this exhibition is Rob Poulin, who is another local ceramicist. The main gallery here at Blue Spiral is the largest exhibition space we have. We typically have large group shows like this one, or sometimes a solo exhibition. There's my dog, Ella. She's our gallery dog. We rotate our exhibitions every other month, and they last between 2, sometimes 3 months, depending on the time of year. It's another nice group of Michael Poness, backed by a Jeremy Russell. And then to the left, George Peterson, Rob Poulin, another Katie Walker. Towards the back of the main gallery, we have 2 smaller exhibition spaces. To the left here is the small format gallery. Currently, we have a solo show with local artist, illustrator Cray Mellick. Cray does these intricately cut and hand-painted collage assemblages with a folk feel to them. It's a really sharp exhibition. As I pan through, you'll see several pieces by the artist. Really excited to showcase these new works by her, as she just had her 2nd child shortly after Hannah and I had ours, Harvey. So Cray is has a second child, new mom, made all these works for our exhibition. And if you pick up the newest edition of Asheville Made, she's a featured artist. Across from our small format gallery, we have our showcase gallery. This is one of my favorite gallery spaces in Blue Spiral. It's a great size for a small group show or a solo exhibition. Currently, we're featuring a 2-person show, which is almost like 2 solo shows called Landscapes and Dreamscapes, new work by Julian Davis and Brad Sells. Julian is a local painter here in Asheville who's been with the gallery for a number of years, originally from the UK, who paints the American South via subject matters like the Biltmore Estate, Patton Avenue, the Vance Monument, the history of Alabama and Demopolis with these narrative works, And the newest series that he's debuting in this exhibition is his COVID Dream series. Another one from the COVID Dream series. Show's done very well received. And then paired with Cookeville, Tennessee's own Brad Sells, who starts all of these pieces with a chainsaw. And then the works get fine-tuned down to a hand sanding and tinting process. Take a lap around here. If you go to our website, which is www.bluespiral1.com, and click the exhibitions tab, you can walk through the exhibitions on your own. You can see detail images and purchase works from the comfort of your own home. This is another piece from the COVID series. It's kind of got a Handmaid's Tale feel to it. It's called COVID Dream. And these are two pieces that are from a car graveyard that is several acres just north of Atlanta. That was the inspiration for these two pieces. And now we'll take a trip upstairs. Check out the upper level galleries here at Blue Spiral. We got our friend here walking with us, showing us the way. This is a piece by Scott Upton. Scott is one who's actually the first solo show in our lower level gallery when we opened. One of our most successful artists here as well. To the left, we have Matt Tommy, who's shown with us here and there for several exhibitions over the years and is now a regularly represented artist here as well. Beautiful baskets. Local plein air painter Deborah Squire, who just had a solo show in the gallery not too long ago. Glass artist Shane Farrow, all flame worked. The blown bottle. As we pivot around over here, we walk towards the gallery's, what is normally our conference room. Every once in a while we turn into an exhibition space, and like I said, my wife Hannah curated this ceramic invitational for us, and it is called Form to Table, which is a play on the farm to table movement and features all functional tabletop pieces from artists like Eric Pardue, Casey Engel, Candace Hensley, who's local to Asheville, Matt Repsher, Mangum Pottery out of Weaverville, Will Dickert, local, some more Mangum Pottery, Ricky Barnett, We have some collaborations pieces with his partner, Lynn Habaika, as well. We're also featuring the works of Judith Duff, who is a ceramic legend here in West North Carolina. The impetus for this show is to provide accessibility to ceramics, especially this time of year. It's been really well received. We're really excited by the artists we've been able to bring in, like Lynn Habaika, Lindsay Rogers. Really cool lid pot there. Again, all of these pieces are on our website under the exhibition tab, Form to Table. Candace Meth, super excited about her work. The show has also been very dangerous for us since we've acquired many pieces for our own collection as well. That's all part of the fun, right? Here's a really cool piece by Lynn Habaika. You can see her illustrative style here of the Norwal. Super cool. And then one of the collaboration pieces I was talking about with Lynn and Ricky, a butter dish. And then underneath, the raccoon. New series by the Mangums, Rob and Beth, where they've imprinted almost like hieroglyphics into the piece of pottery. Those have been very popular. Courtney Hasman installed this really cool and popular mug wall here. So that is our Form to Table show. It pretty much changes every day as people come in and purchase things and leave. We keep it restocked and new artists bring in new works constantly. Got to keep it fresh. So what I'd like to do now is to walk back downstairs, and I'm not going to have you follow me with the camera so you don't get sick. And I'm going to turn my computer back on and we can jump into some Q&A and any comments, and I'm happy to answer anything and go into more detail about any of the pieces you saw this evening, any of the artists that we represent here at the gallery, history of the gallery, anything you'd like to know.
I'm not seeing any questions. What's going on here? You all must be so blown away that you can't think of anything to ask. So I have a number of things to ask. And one thing that I'd like to tell you about, when we conclude today, if you all have enjoyed what you've seen here and learned today, we're in the process of creating our own little video collage to be able to post on Facebook of some of the incredible comments we've gotten as of day 3, and we'll do this every day. And we invite you to send us your videos and show us your collection, show us what you're doing in your studio, tell us what you liked about these presentations we've been doing. It can be still images. It could just be a written testimonial with your name and permission to use it. And the more we get, the more interesting this is going to be. So we invite you to do that. Michael, are you all set up now?
I think so.
Great, great. So anybody can open up with a question. Hello? So if nobody's going to ask, I'm going to start with a question.
Sounds good.
Okay, I would like to know a little bit about Will Henry Stevens' collection and what that means to the gallery, about John's work with all of this, with all of his work. I knew him from New Orleans days. So I am particularly interested in some of his early works, you know, the Bayou pieces and that kind of thing. But can you tell everybody a little bit about how you all have worked with that collection?
So we have been the sole representation of the Will Henry Stevens estate for nearly 40 years now. Will Henry Stevens was born in Vey, Indiana, and attended the Cincinnati Art Academy. And then he spent most of his adult and professional life in New Orleans, teaching at the Newcomb College, which is now Sophie Newcomb, which is now kind of part of Tulane University. But he spent his summers with his family here in West North Carolina. And that's kind of the connection with this part of the country with Stevens. He had one daughter, and after Will had passed away, the daughter decided to move to West North Carolina, and over some time she got to know the reputation of John Cram and approached him several times saying, you know, my father was an artist. I have a lot of work by him. Would you be interested in seeing the work and possibly representing the estate? And, you know, we get inquiries like that fairly often, and sometimes we roll our eyes because we're not too sure what we're getting into. And sure enough, John did that a few times. And then finally he gave in and said, sure, I'd love to see the work. And he went to her house and went down to the basement, and lo and behold, it was a treasure trove of thousands of pieces by one of the most prolific and talented turn-of-the-century modernist painters he had ever seen, and one that folks in this part of the country had ever seen. So he started to take the works in little by little, over time acquiring the entirety of the estate. And in fact, the impetus for opening Blue Spiral 1 was to give Stevens a proper home. And so at all times in our upper level gallery, there's a dedicated space to Will Henry Stevens. Over the years, we have had him in several traveling exhibitions. We've placed his works in close to 50 museums across the United States, such as LACMA, the De Young, Cincinnati, a lot of regional museums as well, Boston, and a lot of private collections as well. We have a museum show opening next year at the Huntsville Museum of Art that will also be traveling for the next 2 to 3 years, which we're really excited about. And not only do we represent the estate for so many years and have a strong connection to the works, but because of John's love for environment and land preservation, he began a land trust in Will Henry Stevens' name called the Will Henry Stevens Revolving Land Trust. And a portion of all sales go to protect land here in West North Carolina. And over several years, we protected thousands of acres of land with this trust and the sales of Will Henry Stevens. So that's just a short snippet. If you have more questions or want to learn more, you can go to our website or come into the gallery, and I'm happy to talk more with you about Stevens.
Does anybody else out there have questions, or am I going to ask them all? Hello? Okay. I'm going to put a couple of people on the spot. All right. I know that Miralee Orsini is out there in the audience, and I know that my friend Marty Weiss from St. Louis is on here today. And you all are incredible glass collectors. And I know that you just had a week of your own video series, I believe it was, at SOFA. And I'd like to for you to talk a little bit about glass with Michael and just your experience with various glass artists who people can see at Blue Spiral.
Michael, do you have any more Alex Bernstein pieces there in the gallery right now?
We do. We have several pieces by Alex at the gallery, and we probably have about a dozen to 20 pieces of Alex's available at the gallery right now.
But you also carry other North Carolina artists as well as artists from around the world, correct? You want to talk about some of those?
Correct, yes. So we, being a hotbed for studio glass here in West North Carolina, we obviously represent a number of studio glass artists that live in the area, such as Alex, Robert Steffen, Shane Farrow, Rick and Valerie Beck, Gary Beecham, Kenny Pieper, Kenny Carter, there's a ton. We probably represent about 30 glass artists, so it's a lot. We just started representing Jen Blazina recently. She's out of Philadelphia. She's a young artist, does some really innovative work. We represent Corey Pemberton, who's in LA. We show, let's see here. We've probably worked with 100 different glass artists over the last 30 years.
Have you shown anything from Harvey Littleton or Kate and John?
We used to represent Kate and John. We no longer represent them, but they're represented at Momentum Gallery now. And so if you'd like to see some of their work, you can visit there. And I think they also have some of Harvey's print works as well at that gallery.
Can you talk just a little bit about the influence of Harvey, Chihuly, and all of that as the early contemporary glass movement in Western North Carolina, and how that impacts who you represent? Sure.
So like I said, we're kind of a hotbed for studio glass, and Harvey Littleton was definitely the godfather of studio glass, which is a relatively short span of time when you're thinking about the history of art in general. So you're talking about the last 50 years or so of art being something that is taken away from functionality and production, and it's put into people's homes for them to enjoy as art pieces. And so we have represented artists that have been in the forefront of the beginning parts of studio glass, like Alex's parents, Billy Bernstein, Mark Pizer. We've worked with him, John and Kate as well. And then it's kind of trickled down to the second, and now we're kind of in the third generation of glass makers, which is really exciting. So like Alex, we represent Hayden Wilson, who's a young glass artist as well. His parents are also glass artists. So it's really cool to see how it's being handed down from one generation to the next, and to see what they're doing with the material, combining various techniques in glass, but also taking it to metal and mixing it with fiber and clay, just kind of expanding upon what Harvey and Dale had done in the beginning, and just expanding the field and seeing what happens, and we'll see what happens next, which is really exciting. There's video happening with glass now, and installation. It's really exciting, and we're so glad to be a part of it and represent so many great artists, glass artists that are part of it as well.
So maybe some of you glass people out there might like to chime in here and talk a little bit about how you got interested in glass and about how you started collecting glass.
I started out collecting glass with my wife, Kathy, and we first saw some beautiful studio art at a Mother's Day outdoor art show. Saw the sunlight shining through the glass, became very much attracted to it. And then the St. Louis Art Museum had a couple shows, one including a Chihuly show. And then also did a large sax collection show. And became very interested in glass and started collecting through Dwayne Reed's gallery in St. Louis. Then slowly expanded to other galleries in Chicago and elsewhere. And then SOFA. So we collected glass, I think, earnestly, a good 10, 15 years, and the prices just kept on escalating to the point where we switched to more fiber than glass. But we have a Kate and John Littleton piece. We have a Pharaoh piece, besides some of the earlier glass artists, Billy Morris, Dante Mariano, etc. I have not been to SOFA in quite a while because I found, at least from my experience, it mostly became a place to purchase jewelry and glass. And if you had an interest in other types of art, it really wasn't all that beneficial. I don't know how other people found it, and I don't know how well glass is selling these days. Talking to some art museum curators, they say there aren't quite the same number of enthusiasts of collecting fine crafts, art, other than two-dimensional art. And I don't know what your experience has been in Asheville.
Michael, can you address that?
Sure. So we deal with a lot of glass collectors, as you can imagine. What's great about our gallery is that we have the diversity, and that's in subject matter, in material, and price point. So it's a great business model for us to have, to offer accessibility to various clients. I definitely agree with you in some ways about the focus of certain fairs going in a certain direction. We've continued to show up at those fairs to kind of weigh it the other direction in a way and bring different offerings as well. We rarely ever bring glass to SOFA, just knowing that we don't need to. There's plenty of glass to be seen, and we have so many amazing other talented artists to showcase. This year has been a very interesting year for us and for everybody in the art world. But I feel very fortunate in the business that we're in, that we have done quite well throughout all of this. And people are purchasing art for their homes and their collections, and our artists are thriving, and they're given the time to produce work that is not only thought-provoking, but out of their comfort zone a little bit, and it's being very well received. Again, I just feel very fortunate that we've been able to just be as successful as we have been, and have the shows that we do, and continue opening 4 to 5 shows every other month, and looking forward to next year as we step into our 30th anniversary, and we'll be presenting shows throughout the year that have some sort of tie to the history of the gallery, as well as paying tribute to our recently lost owner, John Cram. And we will having a lot of virtual programming in his honor, and a lot of history that we'll be sharing both on our website and in the gallery, and some really exciting exhibitions that will pretty much only feature our regularly represented artists. Typically, we're bringing in artists continually throughout the year, that have never shown with us before as an invitational. But next year, it's predominantly only represented artists, artists that have been with us for the 30 years and artists that have been with us for maybe a year. But we are all one family here, and the shows are really exciting, and I'm excited to open them. And the current shows that I showed you today last until the first week of January, and then we'll open up new shows January 15th or so. That'll last 2 months. But you can see everything on our website, bluespiral1.com. You can follow us on Instagram at bluespiral1 or Facebook. We have very active social media accounts. We share lots of exciting things from our artists to our team here at the gallery. And I look forward to reconnecting with each of you on a personal level if you come into the gallery as well.
That's lovely. I'm going to use that as an opportunity to bring some of this to close. I have one more question, was about the Scott Upton phenomena, but we will save that for a future time. I do want to say how much we all miss John, and to give you kudos for how you are growing the gallery, the representation, and in every way and every day, your respect for John and his gallery.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also want to mention to you all that coming up, I have to look at my dates here. Coming up, I think at the end of next week, will be the Center for Craft. And we have all honored John there as well with a beautiful new gallery space that you will have a chance to learn about. So in closing, I would like to thank all of you for coming. We've had tremendous participation today, not in the Q&A so much, but in terms of eyes, it's been great. And to tell you that Sandhill Artists Collective will continue to grow, and to invite you to please go to our site, sign on, and look at the featured artists that we have there who live primarily in the western part of the county, that is now becoming very credible. Some of our artists actually show at Blue Spiral and some of the other galleries that you'll see this week. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, if any of you, for any reason, don't miss something, we will provide you with recordings so that you can see whatever you may have missed. So that will be great. In that vein, we're continuing to sell tickets. I noticed we had some new ticket buyers today, and we're glad to have you on board. We hope you'll tell others. Again, one way or the other, they'll either see it live or they'll get a recording. So we want you to go to the website. Bob, do we have a graphic, or are we going to just let Michael tell everybody?
We are actually going to be sending an email out to everybody tomorrow, and it will have all the links for the artists who have been presenting over the past 3 days, including Michael today. And we will be updating that link or that thank you letter, I should say, every day throughout the 10-day series here. So by the end, you should have quite a collection of websites that you can visit and further explore. So look for that email. And
in addition, I want to mention that I have gotten up and journaled each day about what we've seen and learned and what you're going to see the next day. So on Monday, we're going to have a really exciting look at cultural art and music at Leaf Global. And it's in an incredible renovation space, which is in the block, which was traditionally the African American historical area of Asheville. So we hope you come on Monday. And we thank all of you for coming and signing on and wish you a happy weekend.
Thank you all, and thank you very much, Michael.